Hey YouTube, Rogue Tree here, back with my Phantom Knight deck profile. This is a pretty cool deck in that it's always fun trying to find the lines through it, because every hand you're going to get to your combos a totally different way, but all of them just get there. Uh, Super interesting, all the graveyard effects you kind of gotta wait to activate at certain times so that you can get other triggers out of cards. It's a lot of fun piloting the deck, I did pretty well locals with it, so I'm going to show it off. So let's just get into it. First, we start with the Phantom Knights. We've got 3 Torn Scales, 3 Silent Boots, 2 Cloak, 2 Stained Greaves, and 2 Ragged Gloves. This felt pretty good. You obviously want to have 3 Torn Scales, use like the biggest combo piece, 3 Silent Boots, easiest extender, and then I played 2, 2, and 2. I've seen people play one-ofs for like Greaves and Gloves, but I did appreciate having the second ones just to have a few more names to dump to summon off your trap cards. It's nice to just have kind of a dummy body to send a grave to just have there to summon back. I almost wanted a 3rd Cloak just to have as a dummy body, just to end with in the graveyard for follow-up. But 2 worked out fine for me. Yeah, that is my ratios for the Phantom Knight monsters. Then we've got, for extenders, we've got 1 Psychic Tracker and 1 Wielder, along with a Foolish and a Rhoda. These are pretty much your ways to get to extenders. Tracker and Wielder are just free level 3 bodies, so that those are pretty good. Just make your Cherubini super easily. Foolish, just send any Phantom Knight. Usually that will be your Ancient Cloak, just to search a Phantom Knight and get your combo started. Or Rhoda, which does same thing, just search any of your Phantom Knights. These 4 spots can be pretty much anything. They could be like, I've seen people play Dangers. I was initially playing Dangers, but I just don't like the chance that Dangers, just getting rid of your hand traps out of your hand, not just taking away interruptions that you would otherwise have. Just feels bad discarding a hand trap for a Danger. But otherwise, yeah, that's a thing you can play. I've seen people play Teal'c Sheeran, a variety of different things. This is just what I went with, and that worked out pretty well for me, especially just free level 3s. I would almost bump these up to 2 each, because it's so nice to just have the free bodies. But yeah, this worked out pretty well. And then after that, we have the next engine, which is 3 Enchantress, 3 Right, Fateful, Dracovac, and Griffin Rider. This is becoming pretty standard for Phantom Knights. It just works out super nice with them. With Fateful can just discard your, instead of discarding the Dracovac, you can just discard a Phantom Knight, get graveyard setup going, and even if you open like 2 Water Enchantress or Enchantress Right, that's not even bad, because then you just use 1 Right to get to your Griffin Rider, and then the second Enchantress is just a free level 3 body. So you just have another extender for your combos. And if your hand is like all Phantom Knights and you still want to get to your Griffin Rider, you can make Cherubini dump Water Enchantress and search right and your get your adventure engine going anyway. So it's like super searchable, and with the 6 starters, you'll most hands open at least one, sometimes two, which is not even bad because of what I said, the free level 3 extender. So that's super good engine for this deck. Worked out really well. It's nice to always have the Nib protection in a deck that can play this. Alright, so that's Adventure. And then after that, we've got the Spell and Trap stuff for the Phantom Knights. So that would be the 3 Fog Blade, 1 Sword, 1 Wing, and 1 Rank of Magic Force. Some versions I've seen play the other Rank of Magic and try to go for Kali Yuga. I did not build around that version. I think that's more of a gimmicky version. This one is a little more consistent in its combo lines. So I just played the 1 Force to go into your Dark Requiem, 3 Fog Blade, because it's good to draw. It's good to set as an interruption, but also good to discard for extension. So it's just got a ton of utility. And then 1 Wing, 1 Sword is for specifically extension. These are simply to be discarded to banish summon a Phantom Knight from grave. I did find that having both was nice so that you can send 1 off of your Torn Scales and 1 off your Ragged Gloves, so that you don't have to get rid of a Fog Blade in deck, so you can keep those around for interruptions. You probably don't need to play both, but it felt good to me. It didn't feel like I was drawing them too often. And again, just the Fog Blade being just an extra interruption when you draw it is super nice. And that is all for the engine. And then for non-engine, I was playing 3 Nibiru, 3 Ash, and 3 Mourner. So Nib, I was playing mostly just to, just as the most impactful hand trap for the deck, is just because I wanted to have at least one hand trap that was super impactful and could really change things around. And I didn't feel like Droll was quite the pick right now. But Nib is just always good to be able to limit your opponent's combos to kind of minimal extension. And then Ash and Mourner. Ash is just always good against decks. It does feel weird against Snake Eye, because you don't want to turn on the Hita. But otherwise, it's just all around pretty good. And Mourner is the other one that I went with. Mourner was just kind of something that I figured could hit pretty well, and I wanted to play a second Ghost Girl here, and Mourner, I picked Mourner over Ogre. The reason I wanted 2 Ghost Girls is because worst case scenario, they're level 3s and you can normal summon them. And that did actually come up where I had, I don't know, it was Tracker or Wielder plus one of these was like my main way to get 2 level 3s on board. I think I might have had that plus like Adventure. So I had to use that to get 2 level 3s on board, and then do get to my Phantom Knight engine through that. So it does actually come up. I did like having the 2 Ghost Girls, and I mean just generically good hand traps. 9 hand traps is kind of my standard. I usually try to keep it to about 9 for non-engine, just to make sure that I draw it, but not too much to not draw enough engine, especially in this deck where there's no like 1 card combos. You need to draw like 2 or 3 engine at least. But yeah, these felt pretty good. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're playing 2 Bardiche, 1 Cherubini, 1 Barricade Borg Blocker, IP, and Unicorn. So that's our links. Cherubini is just crazy. Any 2 level 3s. Just summon him. Foolish, another level 3. Get another Phantom Knight to the grave. Works super well with everything in the deck. And it's Foolish is for cost. So if your opponent imperms your Cherubini, you can just laugh at them because it negates its attack gain, and that's it. You still get to send your level 3 for cost. And Rusty is your main combo piece. It does so much for the deck. He Foolishes a Phantom Knight and sets a spell trap from deck, which is just a wild effect. And then his pop effect does come up comboing first because you summon your Break Sword. Rusty pops Break Sword. Break Sword brings back your Phantom Knights, makes them level 4 for your Rebellion into Requiem. It's just so good of a combo piece. And it just, I felt this needed to be at 2. This probably you could play at 2. I don't know exactly what I would replace it with, because I feel like these are all pretty good down here, other than what Unicorn should be an SP. But I don't have an SP, and I'm not paying $130 to get an SP. But Unicorn worked out fine. The discard is actually usually fine because you can discard like a Phantom Knight card, so you'll just that card you put in grave can come up anyway. Which is why the Barricade Borg is here. If you happen to have bodies on field, but you want to get something in hand into the graveyard, you can just barricade, discard. And once in a while, it didn't come up for me, but I figured sometimes you can discard, and then if you end up with like a what's it called? If you end up with a Fogblade engrave, you can reset the Fogblade with your Borg blocker, which is nice. Or you can add it back to your hand, so you can get back your interruptions. But yeah, those worked out pretty well. The IP into Nightmare Unicorn is pretty much just if you have a couple spare bodies. Usually you don't quite have enough bodies, because if you're playing through Interruption, usually you have just enough to get to your mainline combo. But I wanted it here, and it did come up a couple times, just for if you have extra bodies. And again, it definitely should be SP for the Unicorn if you have it. I don't, but that's kind of what the place here is. So that's the only Link monsters. Then for Xyz monsters, I am playing 2 Break Sword, a Rebellion and a Requiem, and a Raider's Knight, an Arc Rebellion, and a Zeus. Break Sword is your main guy you're starting with. You make that under your Bardiche, pop itself, bring back 2 level 4s, go into your Rebellion. then rank up into your Requiem. And Requiem is detach 1 monster negate, not once per turn. So it ends up being 3 monster negates. And the nice part about that effect is it also, when you negate the monster effect, it also has an optional reborn of an Xyz monster. So you can bring that back to your Rusty Bardiche zone and then pop an opponent's card. So that's super nice. I usually don't reborn the Xyz immediately as long as I have a Phantom Knight trap engrave, because then you can just use the trap to bring back Breaksword and trigger Bardiche manually. But I mean, on third monster negate, you might as well bring back the Dark Rebellion. And then Raiders Knight, Arc Rebellion, Zeus. These are all your go second things. So yeah, just Breaksword into 2 level 4s into Raiders. Into Arc is your usual OTK combo, because Arc Rebellion just detach 1, gain the attack of the entire field, and then because you have Raiders Knight, it negates the whole field. So you just go into this thing, negate the board, get massive, and just swing into something and just attack for game. And if you happen to not be able to do that, then that's what this is for. You can just get into the Arc Rebellion. At minimum, if it doesn't kill, it will be able to beat over something for big damage. And then because of battle, you can just slap a Zeus on it, which works out pretty well. So yeah, that was pretty good. That felt pretty good. And then the last 2 cards in the extra deck are Garura Muddragon, which, spoilers, side deck is Super Poly. These are good Super Poly targets. The best thing about Super Poly, here, I suppose I'll grab it real quick. So with the side deck, the first card is Super Poly. Super Poly going second, like if you know you're going second, you always side in Super Poly, because it just gets you so much advantage. Because you get to take 2 monsters off your opponent's board, discard a Phantom Knight to set up a graveyard effect, and get a dark body or a body that can turn itself dark, so that you have already a material for Bardiche. So Super Poly just goes crazy in this deck as removal and as setup for your combos. So going second, I always sided in Super Poly, and it worked out super well. It's just so wild of a card in here. And obviously Garura Muddragon, other than being dark monsters, they're just the best Super Poly targets, most likely to be able to hit whatever board. So yeah, the Super Poly was the main side deck card that always got sided in. And then for ones that sided in less so, Droll, just for the crazy combo decks they need to search a million times. When it shuts down a deck, it just really kills it. Like most decks, if they lose to Droll, they really do nothing. Like normal Rabina, search Eaglin, get Drolled, their turn is over. So it's nice just to be able to have something like that as another high impact card like Nibiru. For back row decks, I played 3 Cyclone just to deal with stuff like that. It didn't come up a ton today, but not okay at the tournament at locals. But yeah, it didn't come up a ton. But it is always nice to have back row removal. I don't want to get stuck by like Runic Stun or something. And then for against some like graveyard decks, I did decide to play 3 Bystials. I did go with 1 Magnum, 1 Druis, 1 Baldrake because uh, I do like the ability that if you happen to draw multiples, they're always all live instead of having like 2 Druis or something. And Baldrake, with your monsters, you always have Later Darks to actually use it as an interruption. And the reason I went with Bystials for Graveyard is because it interrupts the graveyard, but uh, it also gives you a body on board, which is nice, so that you can extend into your combos better if you're going second, or if you're going first, then it's just more interruption for them and just another body for follow-up. And then the last one, I didn't really know what to put here for the last hand trap, and so I thought I'd be funny and play the time card, Ghost Sister Spooky Dogwood, uh, which is funny for time. You just going into game 3 with just a few minutes on the clock, you side in Dogwood, and they activate like something that's gonna summon, and you just Dogwood, just win the game right there. But also, if you do side it in for time, and it does get around to your turn, you can. It is another Ghost Girl that you can normal summon for a level 3. So that's kind of just the cope reason to play it, because this really should be anything else, but it was, I didn't know what to put, so I decided I'd play the funny time card. So yeah, this worked out pretty well. I didn't end up having to side a ton into the extra stuff. Usually Ashmorn or Nib worked out pretty well. Always into the Super Poly going second because it's just crazy. But otherwise, that is the deck. Again, it worked out pretty well for me. It's super fun because it's a super like non-linear deck. I might do a video where I just try some like test hands, because there's not really a way to show like, 2 and 3 card combos. Like every hand is gonna have a 2 or 3 card combo, and it's just a matter of being able to play those hands correctly. So I might show off kind of like a video just trying a few test hands to show how to hit your main steps of your combo. So watch out for that. Otherwise, I think that should be it for the deck. Definitely try it out. It's a super fun deck to pilot. But I think, yeah, we're good. So this is Rogue Tier signing out.